Hello everyone. So I've got a pin news video today and I'm going to do it a little bit different than I've done in the past. So instead of me facing the camera for the majority of the video, I'm actually going to go into a narrate mode and share my screen. I'm going to do that for a few reasons. Number one, I thought it would be interesting to kind of take a look at some of the different sellers that have some of these pins available. So that way, if you're interested in one of these pins, you actually can already see what website I'm looking at, whether it be eBay or Etsy or whatnot, but also see what the seller or who the seller is that's selling it and see some of the different price points these pins are available at versus me just posting pictures up on the screen. Now, in the comment sections, let me know what you think about this format. If you like this better than the old pin news format, for those of you that have watched those old videos. The other thing is some of the pins I'm sharing today. There's a couple that I think I've seen one or two reviews for. Most of these pins are a bit newer, so there's not really a lot of information as far as other YouTubers that have reviewed them. However, some of them will be maybe a little bit controversial as far as some of you may the pins mimic other fountain pens. So of course that always comes with interesting comments in the comment section. With that being said, let's get started with this video. See you in a moment. All right, so here we actually see our first web page, and this is a fountain pen. This is the Moonman F9 fountain pen. Now, this is a pen that I think is kind of seeing a direction for Moonman going and doing more homage, mimic, whatever those of you want to call it. They're really taking a look at other fountain pens and mimicking those designs. So I know this is of a Mont Blanc fountain pen as far as the design goes. With that being said, I do think that this pen is somewhat interesting. I like some of the design elements associated with these pens. Now, here we are on eBay, and there's quite a few different variations of this pen available. So, really, I've seen um, four different designs. So, this first seller we see up here, we have the kind of traditional black fountain pen, we have a red one, and we have a nice chrome or silver finish. And then we have this one over here that is, again, another interesting finish as far as the fountain pen goes. And then we also see that there's a wide range of price points available for this pen as well. Um, we're going to go with the sponsored one up here first and just kind of click on this and just take a look and see some of these images, see how it's available, and also what's available. So we see on this first image here, we see some of the images. Now, one of the first things I notice, besides the different colors, is the differences in clip design as well. I think that's another interesting design element. So we have that snake clip that you see on the silver pen, but then on the black pen, we have more of a traditional styled clip, but it has a very ornate top to it up at the top of that cap. So kind of an interesting look as far as that goes. Now we see they do have the other pen available here. So let's take a little bit better look of this. So we see the section. It definitely looks like it is, from what I can tell, if we look right here, up at the top close to the nib, it looks like there is a screw off cap. It has the threads at the end of the section, a little bit different than what we just traditionally see. Now the clip design is I think relatively cool. We've got a spider that is up at the top of the clip as well as on the nib itself. That nib is branded with a Moonman, and I can see an F for fine. And then we have the intricate spider web design for the body. Now, one of the things that I notice about this pen is it does have a metal section. I'm not generally a huge fan of metal sections. That's not something that speaks to me very much. Looking at some of the other images, so this was something else that I thought was kind of neat, is it looks like this is actually a piston filler. So, Originally looking at the pen, to me, it looked like it was probably going to be a cartridge converter setup, but I think they went with a piston filler to, again, kind of mimic that design element of the Mont Blanc fountain pen. Looking at another image, so here you see some of the Moonman packaging. So this is how you would traditionally receive this pen. So elegant package design. We've seen this same type of pen coffin with some of the other Moonman pens. So again, I think that's pretty cool that they're using that type of packaging. Here we see a full metal pen, and again, a different design elements with this one. We see it available with the snake clip, and the nib actually mimics the clip itself. I would wonder if that snake clip is removable. In the image, to me, it looks like it possibly is. If you already have this pin potentially, definitely comment down below and let us know if it is removable, just for anybody that's interested in knowing. Again, some more marketing images. That's the full metal one definitely is an attractive looking pen. I wonder how comfortable it is to write with, however. Get a kind of a good look at the top of the cap finial with this pen. And here's an even better up close look of that nib. So again, the nib design is, I think, intricate. It looks nice. To me, it looks like a little bit smaller nib, maybe a number closer to a number 5 nib. But again, an interesting design element. It is branded with that Moonman. You have that F for fine on the nib. Another up close look. You can kind of see the threads again at the end of the barrel. So interesting perspective there. Here we see the red pen. Again, another snake clip, another snake nib as well. And some other good images. Kind of fast forwarding through this because it's going to be about the same images throughout. Really up close look of that snake clip, the nib again. And then here we see a little bit different branding as far as, I don't know if this is potentially a package you would receive. I'm going to probably say no. I bet most of us will get that kind of cardboard sleeved package. This one is a wooden package. I could be totally wrong. I would just think that would add additional weight to the shipping and cause additional shipping charges. So I wouldn't imagine we'd be getting that. But again, here's another design element. So same red pen that had the snake clip, but this one has a spider clip and a spider nib. Again, an interesting design element with the pen itself. So fast forwarding through some of these images, I'll go back to that one. So a nice up close look of that nib. Again, I think it's a very ornate looking nib. I mean, some people may not agree. I think it does. I think it's aesthetically interesting and pleasing. And then we get a look at the back of the feed. Can't tell, the feed looks a little bit different, but, without seeing it in person, don't know if it's just a regular stamp feed or, injection molded feed, whatever it looks like. And from here, it's not a stamped feed. So a little bit different as far as what we see in some of the other Chinese pens. Doesn't mean that it's going to perform any better. There's a good look at the top of the cap finial again. So a lot of images here to actually take a look at. Here's the black pen. Again, this one now we have with the snake clip. Full silver or rhodium nib. So a little bit different design element again. Kind of fast forwarding through some of these images. Another up close look at the snake clip itself. And that is about it. So it looks like for this seller specifically, looks like there is, so the pen's roughly about $23.90. Let's see what all they have available. So they have most of them available except for the Black Widow Spider. So it looks like that one. And I would imagine that one would be pretty popular just because of the fact that it's, I think, one of the coolest design elements out of these pens. They have the Coffee Snake. So that would make me wonder if maybe this is not a full black. Maybe in person it's going to be a little bit lighter black. I could be wrong because they have a black spider as well. To me, this color looks a little bit different. So this is the black spider with the silver nib. And then we go back to the coffee snake. And to me, and it could just be the picture and the image and the lighting. This looks like a little bit different shade of black, or whatever you may call it. So somewhat interesting. So we see the seller's information over here. So this person's got 99.5% positive feedback. So not bad as far as the feedback goes. Again, with like any of these pins, I always tell look, whenever I'm looking at a pin, I look at, price is always a big key, but then also look at the seller's information, see how many sales they have, see what their feedback is, how positive it is, and then also see what else they're selling. Is it someone that just happens to sell one or two different pin related items and sells all these other crazy items? Doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing, but if it's someone that carries predominantly fountain pens or pin related products, it's going to be something that they pay a little bit more attention to, and things of that nature. Now, we do notice there are some differences in price as well. So some of these are cheaper than the other ones. The stainless steel one, for instance, is about $28. So it's $27.90 as well. Now, if we go down, let's see if we can look at some of the description. So it does say that it's a piston suction ink, easy to fill, metal paintbrush, blah, 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 blah. Here that talks about the Black Widow spider, pursues a natural sense of randomness, kind of goes into that. Here's kind of what I was looking for. So length, 139 millimeters, diameter is 10 millimeters, the weight. So I'd imagine that those metal pins are going to be heavier. So we're looking at 30 to 48 grams. Of course, we know it's a screw type cap. And it does say one piece with original box. So some of the sellers do charge you extra for the box. Like you'll have a price where you just get just the pin, to save on shipping costs for them, or you can pay extra and receive the box as well. Obviously, we know it doesn't include ink. PS, the original packaging box and nib might be changed by manufacturers. Sometimes may not be 100% like the photo. So always bear that in mind. And so forth. So the rest of this I'm not going to go into. You guys can read that if you want to when you're looking at this. So let's go back and just kind of look again. So that seller, from about $24 to $28, this pen is available. We have this seller here. I'm just going to take a look just because it is a pretty decent price difference. But sometimes when you click on the actual pins, the price, of course, changes. So they just have the black and the coral red available. So a little bit less price point. This person doesn't have quite as good of positive feedback. They do have a decent amount of sales. But again, just something to note. A little bit cheaper. See what their description has. They've got about the same amount of information, not quite as detailed in the description. That's always something I kind of look at too. I like it when they're a little bit more detailed in the description as well. Obviously, I'm not going to go through those pictures. So this is the Moonman F9 fountain pen. It's available on eBay. I do think there are some available on Etsy as well. I felt like eBay kind of had the best prices. Obviously, there's other sites you can look at as well. There's um, AliExpress. I know there's a lot of different sites. So shop around. Interesting pen. I know for some of you, you may be very, very deterred because of the pen that it mimics. For me, I have a Moonman M800. I'm tempted to buy a couple more of those because it's, for those of you that watch my top 10 Chinese fountain pens video, it's probably my favorite fountain pen right now to use. And I have no issue with the fact that it mimics a Leonardo fountain pen. I'm not going to buy a Leonardo fountain pen, to be honest. So for me, the pen is fine. So I wouldn't have bought one of those pens to begin with. So I don't feel like I'm impacting Leonardo's sales. So again, I'm probably not ever going to buy a Mont Blanc, or not anytime in the near future. So this pen at least gives me that experience. And I'm never going to use one of these pens and try and pass it off as a Mont Blanc. If someone asks me, I'm going to tell them it's a Moonman F9. So again, interesting design element. I haven't seen really a lot of reviews on there. There's a few things on Reddit about this pen. So let me know down in the comment section if you already own one of these pens. Tell me what you think about it. Do you like it? Does it write well? That's always the biggest thing. Does it feel good when you're using it? All right, moving on to our next pen. So we have another Moonman pen, and this is the Moonman M1000 fountain pen. Now, ODE, I did see a review on this. I think on his YouTube channel, he did do a review on this pen. I know this mimics another Mont Blanc fountain pen. This does come with a more premium price point, as you can tell. There's a couple reasons for that. The second seller down here kind of gives you you kind of see why it has a Bach nib with the pen. Now, for me, if I was to choose between this pen and the F9, this is just my personal opinion. I'm going to buy the F9. Number one, the price point, is better. I think that pen also aesthetically speaks more to me, especially that spider design. Plus the fact that even though both of these pens, you'll see here in a moment, both of them have metal sections, I just feel like the F9 is going to be more usable for my personal preference. So we're going to look at the top one here, the very first seller. So this is available in, from what I can tell, 3 different colors. So you have this nice pearlescent kind of cat finial up at the top. Kind of use the zoom image so you can get a nice look at it. So I think very aesthetically pleasing, very nice look at the cat finial. Moving on to the next image, we see those 3 fountain pens. So it looks like we've got some interesting wood grains here. I think wooden fountain pens definitely are great. I'm not a huge fan of wooden fountain pens. I do own about, I think, 3 or 4 of them. But I again, this is an interesting design element. I do like the cap band. The actual kind of rivets that are on the actual wood, I think, are an interesting design element. Again, I know this is mimicking a Mont Blanc fountain pen. And we move on to our third image. There it go. Maybe get to pull up. Now we're good. All right. So here we get to see the section and the nib. So again, a Bach nib. Great that it has a Bach nib. I mean, generally Bach nibs perform pretty well. I know, like everything, you have your critics. One of my biggest issues is this has a metal section, but I do not foresee myself enjoying this metal section for a couple reasons. The pin body is girthier than the section is. The section, you can tell, is much smaller and tapers down. So the Moonman T2, for instance, that one has a metal section on it. It's not the most comfortable section, but I rather like that pin, and I can write with that pin because of the design of the section. It has that traditional kind of concaved or hourglass look to it, and your fingers really fit very nice in there. And I think, of the perfect width. Sections like this that taper down, generally, I'm not as big of a fan of. Another example would be the Pen BBS 323 in the metal variant. That one, again, has an hourglass section, comfortable to write with, works very well. I have other pens that have metal sections that are similar to this one that I just do not enjoy using at all. So that's one thing that for me would probably deter me from this pen. Get a nice look at, kind of an up close look of some of the different facets on this pen. Again, from an aesthetic viewpoint, it doesn't speak to me as much, but I do see the allure to this design element and why some people would like it. Um, just doesn't speak to me specifically. Now, here we get a look at the black one. I do like the fit and finish on this one, though. I think the silver really pops with this wood grain, or this black color. So I definitely do like this one a lot as well. Of course, we know what a Bach nib looks like. But here we get an up close look at that nib. A little bit decent look at the end of the section as well, just to kind of give you an idea of what that would look like. Here again, we see all 3 pens. We see that lighter wood grain over on the left-hand side, and then on the far right, the darker wood grain, of course, the black one in the middle. Moving on, here we get to see this one. Again, this one is, I think, a nice looking pen. And then here is, again, our handmade inlaid rivets is what they call it. So you kind of see those. This is, of course, on the cap itself. There's a look at that cap band as well. When I first saw this pen, honestly, I didn't even realize it was a Moonman until I actually looked at the description, and I was like, oh, okay, this is a Moonman fountain pen. Just kind of came out of, for me, it came out of left field. I wasn't expecting this. So here we see the total length of the pen is 148 millimeters, so good size. Of course, we know this nib's going to be basically a fine nib. That's what you're generally going to get with all of these Bach nibs. I really do like this wood grain. If I was to choose, if I was to get this pen, I'd probably either get this one or the black. Personally, I really like this one though. This is a nice looking wood grain. Now, obviously, we know it's wood, so some of the color is going to, not every pen is going to be the same, but it also adds to the uniqueness of the fountain pen itself. I don't see any packaging material or packaging images for this pen. So again, we see the price for this pen. So we're looking at around, I would say, about $60, and the upper 50s, low 60s as far as the price. Looks like all three colors are available. Here we see the seller's information over here on the right hand side. They have 98.6% positive feedback. So giving you an idea there. Let's go down to the description and see what we can see. Um, it just kind of talks about a brand new, unused, open, undamaged item. Uh, I'm not going to click on the item specifics or anything like that. So you get a kind of an idea of what this pen is about as far as that goes. Now I'll scroll down so you can see some of the other sellers. So we see this seller has it available for $64.39. We have another seller here has it available for that. Now here's one we see that it has available for two different price points. I'm going to click on this one just to kind of get an idea. So this is office product. I have ordered from this seller before. You can see their positive feedback, solid positive feedback. So you can pick. So they have walnut wood, black wood, and red wood. So if you pick on one that you like, and then you obviously, here's what I was talking about before. So you can either get the pen or you can get it with the gift box. If you only get it just the pen, it's going to be $64.81. Or you get it with the box, you're looking at $69.51. So again, I was going to see if there's any images that show the box. There it is. So kind of a more traditional Moonman box. Now we know that can always sometimes be different. You might get one that's different design than this one, but the traditional Moonman boxes to me are fine. I think they're great. I mean, I really don't care about the packaging. I do save my boxes. However, it's not something that really matters to me that much. So this again kind of gives you an idea. So this one's $70. This seller's going to offer it to you for $70 though. Again, I would always tell you, if you're someone that really, really likes the boxes, make sure that if the seller does not specify that you get a box with your pen, reach out to them, send them a message, and ask them. So here we see one. This is a UK seller offering the pen up for just under $91. To me, that's way too much to have to pay for that pen. I'll be okay with waiting for the shipping costs. But as I stated before, it looks like you're going to look at the high 50s, mid 60s for this pen. Now, as we've heard from Douglas has brought up, if you follow his YouTube channel, a lot of times when they release these pens like this one, a prime example would be the Moonman M600. Then they released that with the Schmidt nib at the time, and then and it was more expensive. It was like a $60 fountain pen, and then they did the 600S, and that came with the Moonman pen, and it literally cut the price in half. They did the same exact thing with the M800. They did not differentiate the model number, like put something after it, but they released it with the Bach nib, which made that price point much higher in the high 50s, mid 60s, and then they released it with the Moonman nib and dropped that price in half. And even the ones with the Bach nibs now are actually a little bit cheaper. So watch for that, because that can, if this is a pin that interests you, you can always wait. I don't foresee this pin selling out like crazy. You could get a better deal on this, say in a month or two, especially if they release it with a Moonman nib. So if you're not big and you don't like, I have to have it now, then get you one, but be patient is what I'm saying. All right, moving on to our next pin. This is another interesting one. So this pen actually comes from Easy Buy. And I'm on the Etsy website, and this is one of the sellers that I've bought a lot of pins from, Easy Buy. They've always been good to me. I've always had great experience with them. So this is a pen that I think is pretty cool for a couple reasons. I like some of the design elements, and it's another interesting aspect of us kind of getting the opportunity to see more 14 karat gold nibs available in the Chinese pen market and available to us at I would say, a reasonable price point for a gold nib. So this is the Hong Dian 885 with a 14 karat gold fountain pen. You'll notice this is going to be available in the extra fine and fine nib. Now, these pens are, I think, pretty interesting in their design elements. So the first image that you see here, um, is actually the three different nib elements that you get. So these are all three 14 karat gold nibs, but I love the ornate aspects of these nibs. So you see the black one, this is probably my favorite, the black nib or the black pin, I'm sorry, because of just how the nib looks. And then you in the middle, you have the red pin or the rose pin. That one actually has just your traditional 14 karat gold nib. And then the one on the far right has more of a silver tone with the traditional 14 karat gold nib. And again, I think really cool design elements. Here we see the black pen. And again, I like some of the design elements with this pen. The body of it to me kind of reminds me a little bit of a pelican fin pin, as far as kind of some of the body designs. The cap doesn't really, of course, remind me of anything pelican related, but again, it reminds me a little bit of that just within the body. The nib to me kind of looks like a number size 5 nib. I could be wrong, but it just does. We see that we have some threads as well. So it looks like this is going to be a twist off cap, which I personally like better than just a snap cap. So again, nice design elements. Here we get another look at the black pen. I like how it's kind of like a rhodium type look. It's not really a silver, kind of has that grayish hue to it. We can see the mountain aspect on the cat finial, which I think is really, really cool. And then again, a nice up close look at the actual nib itself. So I think really, really neat design element. Here we get a nice look at the red fountain pen with its gold accents and gold nib. It really suits that very well. I think a nice, elegant looking fountain pen. We also get to see it posted. One thing I will note is it does look like it posts very high. So maybe something that, be interesting to see how comfortable that would be to write with posted. A lot of these type of pen designs that kind of take that more traditional dual-fold design don't always post very deeply. So it might be a pen that won't be the best poster, just my personal opinion based off the image. And here again, we see the nib on this fountain pen. Let's move on. Another image of the red. Now we see a white one with that two-tone nib. And again, I like this one too. I'm not a big fan of just regular white pens. I think this one's a nice design. I love the nib. I love the silver accents. So they went with a traditional silver look as far as the metal facets of this portion. I think it's a nice design element. I think whoever and however they designed these pens, I think they did I personally think they did a nice job with this. Here we see it looks like this would be how the pen would be received. Now, if I remember correctly, this pen is available. I've seen it available on eBay as well. And I want to say I've seen it with a different box. I could be wrong, but I do want to say I saw this with a different box. But again, just giving you an idea. So this pen, Easy Buy has it available for $83. That's actually less than what I paid for my Wingsung 670. So not a bad price point. It's actually less than what I paid for a few of my fountain pens that are Chinese. Um, and then we see it's still available in all three colors. And then as far as the nib option, again, it is available in an extra fine and a fine. No mediums or broads, of course, but you do have it available in two different sizes. So still somewhat interesting. Um, and going and looking at the description for this pen. So this gives a little bit more information. So it's, again, the model for this designation is 885. Of course, we know what nib it has. And it is a cartridge converter fountain pen. The material is a resin and metal, of course. It is a screw type. So capped length is 139 millimeters. The diameter of the pen is about 12 millimeters, and a decent weight, pretty solid, about 34 grams. Some additional features: the section was made of resin for comfortable grip. The cap and barrel were made of solid metal. The cap was engraved with a pattern of a Himalayan. A smoothly and well balanced writing instrument. The 14 karat gold, solid gold, extra fine nib featured with mount. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna try and pronounce that. The gold color part of the nib symbolizes the hope of light in the dark. It comes with a converter for bottled ink. Ink cartridges not included for safety. You can purchase the Hongdian cartridges in our store. So, again, I think it's an interesting pen. Now, is this a pen that I'm going to buy today? No. It's still, an $83 pen, but it's not a bad price point. My personal opinion with getting a gold nib, um, and if it's any consolation, I just took my first dive into a Chinese gold nib with the Wing Sung fountain pen, and it is a very, very nice nib. It writes very well. It has that traditional bouncy feel, has actually a little bit of line variation just naturally, and it's a nib that I actually rather enjoy, and it's truthfully better than some of the other gold nibs that I have on some of the other fountain pens that I've purchased that are more expensive. So, again, it's all relative. That's only one pen. So, if this is a pen that you've already purchased potentially, I know it was just kind of put out not very, somewhat recently. If it's a pen that you've purchased and you're already using it, let us know how you enjoy it, if it writes well, and what your experiences are. And then comment down below what you think about the pen. All right, so moving on to our next pen. We only have two more left. So our next one is the Moonman 101 acrylic resin fountain pen. So this is a pen that I am going to get one of these because I think it's a great price point. It goes back into that kind of Parker 51 design element. And who doesn't love these type of fountain pens? Wingslung 601s are great fountain pens. Jinhao 51As. List can go on and on. Those are just the two that always come to mind first. These are great pens if you're a school, student that needs just a really solid pen to take notes. This design for a pen is always great to look at. And I like some of the design elements with this pen. You see it's available in different colors. I like the fact that you have some different options there as far as colors go. I like the section too. I think the section is probably my favorite part because they chose a clear section point, and I think that's going to be really cool. One of the things that I loved about my Wingsung 601 and the Demonstrator was just because I could see the ink, and if I chose different colors of ink, to me it just looked really, really cool. So let's take a look at the first seller. Well, first, pricing wise, so it looks like you're gonna look at around $25-ish. And that could be one of the things. I mean, I'm not saying that, if you have not experienced a Wingsung 601, I would probably go that route, or even a Jinhao 51A. I would maybe go that route first, just because I feel like those pens are very solid pens and they are a lesser price point. However, this is not a bad price point. Anytime you can get a pen for sub $25 or whatnot, this is not a bad price point. You have some that are in the $22 to $23 range. But I'm going to go to this first seller. So this person's offering it for $25.36. So this is a seller I've not bought from. They do have 100% positive feedback. But let's take a look at the pins first. So I'm going to do the up close look on this. So I do like the fact that they went with a different clip design than the traditional arrow clip design. So that part is, I think, cool. Now we've got our traditional kind of stainless steel cap, and then we see the different colors of resin. Now we've seen these type of resins before on a lot of pins, most namely Pin BBS. I do really like that red one. That red one is very interesting. I do like the kind of teal one on the very end as well. However, they're all attractive looking pens. So definitely cool how they chose out the resins. So it does look like this is a cartridge converter fountain pen. So not a really cool, unique filling mechanism. I say cool or unique, but like the Wingsung 601, it's more like the Jinhao 51A as far as the filling system goes. But for me, no issues there. Get a look at kind of the threads for the barrel, just to get an idea there. And then we see the end of the barrel here as well as far as the finial goes. Now, here's an up close look of the nib, and then we also get kind of an idea of the section. So it looks like the feed is not clear from what I can tell. Maybe it looks like it might be kind of a white feed. I wonder how that will play into staining. Even the clear feeds sometimes are difficult depending upon what type of inks you use. Those sometimes can be really hard to clean out and not have some residual staining left on those feeds. That's the one downside to this type of design. Now we get a look at the nib. Of course, it's that traditional hooded nib that you see on a lot of these pens. So nothing really new there. Moving on to our next image. So here we see our packaging. This is kind of some of the traditional Moonman packaging. Again, seen this packaging on a lot of Moonman pens, but it gives you kind of an idea what you should maybe expect when you receive your pen. Up close look at our purple fountain pen with that nice, pretty acrylic. Looks like it's probably gonna have some nice chatoyancy to it, especially if you are using it in certain types of lighting. And here's a nice look at that section. So again, section pretty interesting design. Again, to me, maybe I'm wrong, but those images look like the feed is actually white instead of clear. But again, I don't think it's really initially a downside as far as when you're using the pen. The only downside I could see is when you have to go clean out the pen. That would be really my only downside if you're using an ink that's going to have a high probability of staining. I really like this orange pen too. I don't really have a lot. I don't think I really have any pens that have an orange material like this. So this is actually pretty attractive looking. And we see the green one. So this is a resin we've seen on multiple pens. Still a very, very pretty color. Moving on, here is the teal one. Give you kind of an up close look of that one. See if we get a better image. So here we go here. Again, just kind of giving you an idea there. There's the red one again, and a little bit better image of the red one. So pretty cool pen here. Of course we have the clear demonstrator also. So kind of give you an idea of what that one would look like. So let's look at the description for this fountain pen. So not as detailed as some of the other descriptions. We could click read more. Doesn't really give us any additional information. No weights, measurements, or anything on here. One of the things we can look at again, you can always click on the seller's information. This person does have 100% positive feedback, but we can even click on that and see what the feedback has looked. So 647 positive for neutral. So not bad there. You kind of see some of the information here. You can also go and look at their items for sale as well. You can get more detailed and see like all the feedback and what's the timeline. You can also look at their items that they have for sale too. And they do have a lot of different pens for sale. So got the Hongdian 960 here. It's a nice fountain pen. So this is not a bad thing to see. So whenever you look at a seller like this and you see that they are doing or they're selling mainly fountain pens, that kind of gives you the idea that this is something that they're invested in. This is their business aspect, and you should get someone that really understands what it means to collect fountain pens because they've already invested in that. Here's a nice look at a Duke 551. I'm sorry, I'm getting sidetracked with all the different pens they have on here. So gives you an idea there. So moving on to our next fountain pen, we have the Hongdian 660. So another wooden fountain pen, but I like the design elements of this pen. I need to really consider purchasing. I don't own a single Ongdian fountain pen. I don't know if it's Dian or Dion. If I mispronounce it, you definitely be more than welcome to correct me in the comment section down below. So this pen, it looks like, is going to be just under $30. Looks like we're looking at between $25 and $28, generally speaking. This one's available for $23.99. Again, you always want to click because sometimes they'll have it cheaper, but then once you click on it, it gives you the options of having a package, either buying the pen separately or having it shipped with the packaging. This one's actually kind of interesting. I'm only going to click on this one because the thumbnail image kind of makes me want to, because it shows the packaging there. So this pen is offered for $23.99. So let's look and see. So it has the 3 different colors: mahogany, ebony, and Swartezia. And let's pick this one. And then let's go. So our nib, we got extra fine or fine. So we do it fine. Doesn't change the price at all. So my question is let's look at the description. Read more. A brand new, unused, unopened, undamaged, including handmade items. See the seller's listing for full details. So what I was curious is whether or not we actually get the packaging that is shown in that image. It'd be interesting to know. So let's just take a better look at these images. So here we see that first one. I really like the look of this wooden material here. I think it's very attractive looking. We have the black one. The clip design, very understated. This is kind of, to me, more of a minimalistic fountain pen. I like that aspect of it. I think that's really nice. Let's go back. So here we get a better image. So here we see the section. We also can kind of see that nib. So I'll try and get a better up close look at that nib. I'm sure one of these images will have a better one. I like the fact that the section to me is a wider section. This design on this pen I actually rather like. It's basic, but I think it hits on the important aspects of the pen. I love the fact that it looks like we have a number 6 size nib. We have a nice size section as far as the girth goes. And the pen itself looks like it would be a nice pen to write with. It just looks like a pen that you would want to pick up and write with. That's kind of my perspective. Again, kind of another up close look of the nib and the section. So this is a pen that I am actually somewhat interested in and would highly consider purchasing. If this is a pen that you already own, definitely comment down below and let us know. Now, this is where I was interested. So we see the box down below, and it looks like it has ink in it along with some ink cartridges. It'd be interesting to know if that's actually what you received with the pen. Now, if you did receive a bottle of ink with this pen for a $24 price point, to me, that's actually a pretty good deal to get a fountain pen, ink, and ink cartridges for around $24. It's not a bad deal at all. So very nice looking fountain pen. Going up here, we can take a look at this top seller, see what they have theirs listed for. So it looks like it looks like this one's just available with the black pen. Get a little bit better look at that up close look at the nib. I love the actual design on this actual nib. So we see 1997. I'm assuming that's when the company was started, if I had to guess anyways. That's why we have that branding or that date on that nib. And then here we're just picking our nib size, $26.79. Going down to see item description, not really much differences, not a lot of differences there. Let's take one more look at another seller. And again, I just want to see if there's anything different as far as the packaging goes, something that just kind of makes me a little bit curious. And about the same as far as item description goes. So again, if you have already purchased this pen and received this pen, let us know in the comment sections what you think about it, what your experiences are with it, and if whether or not you kind of receive the same type of packaging you get. Now here again, we see the pen available with bottles of ink and cartridges. So be interesting to know if that's what you get with the pen. I think that would be kind of cool. Something again a little bit different. So this actually is the last pen that I have for this video. So technically this concludes our pen news review / video. Let me know in the comment sections if you like this format actually going through. I know it's going to make this video probably a little bit longer than I would like it to be. However, if you've lasted this long into the video, I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope all of you are taking care out there. Until next time, everyone, please stay safe in this world. It's been pretty crazy lately. I will talk to all of you later. Bye-bye.